Get protected today at shieldmutual.com. Hi, and welcome to episode 3 of the Arm Your Mind for Liberty podcast. I'm George Donnelly, and today I'm talking about why even those of you who aren't currently worried about the NSA and who like government and aren't anarchists should be worried about the NSA. Yeah? So you may be one of those folks out there who are, a Republican or a Democrat, and you're not an anarchist. You think that government plays an important role in society, and you may even think that the NSA domestic spying that's been going on in recent days, wherein the NSA is basically collecting and listening to all digital communications, telephone, web browser, chats, emails, you name it. You may even think that that is a good idea. You may think that that's a good idea because it might prevent a terrorist attack. It may stop somebody from committing a school shooting. You think it's a good idea. You're like, yeah, keep listening, NSA. Keep me safe. And, I'm not going to talk about why I think that's misguided. I'm going to talk about why, even in that case, you should be very concerned. And let's take a look at an article from about a whistleblower from 2005. The article is recent, but he blew the whistle in 2005 when he was working in the Bush administration. Russ Tice, a former intelligence analyst and Bush-era NSA whistleblower, claimed Wednesday that the intelligence community has ordered surveillance on a wide range of groups and individuals, including high-ranking military officials, lawmakers, and diplomats, including, guess who? Barack Obama in 2004, when he was just starting out with his run for the Senate, for the United States Senate. Yes, the NSA was spying on Barack Obama even before he was elected to the Senate. They went after judges, this whistleblower said. One of the judges is now sitting on the Supreme Court. I had his wiretap information in my hand. And 2 are former FISA court judges. The FISA court are the people who oversee NSA wiretapping, as well as FBI gag orders and things like that, as I understand it. So basically, who's watching the watchers? The watchers are. The watchers are watching the ones who watch the watchers. That is messed up. That is messed up. And you still may be wondering, well, okay, so what? Everybody should be watched, right? I mean, everybody should be watching everybody because you never know who or where the information could come from that could stop the next 9/11. Well, have you heard of a thing called blackmailing? Have you heard of J. Edgar Hoover? Here's an article, a quote from Ray McGovern, a retired high-level CIA analyst who actually briefed several presidents on CIA intelligence. He said this a few weeks ago, which leads to the question, why would Obama do all these things? Why would he be afraid, for example, to take the drones away from the CIA? Well, I've come to the conclusion that he's afraid. Number one, he's afraid of what happened to Martin Luther King Jr., and I know from a good friend who was there when it happened that at a small dinner with progressive supporters, after these progressive supporters were banging on Obama before the election, why don't you do the things we thought you stood for? Obama turned sharply and said, don't you remember what happened to Martin Luther King Jr.? That's a quote, and a very revealing one. Another quote from Obama, speaking as a politician, according to Ray McGovern at least, speaking as a politician, I can promise you this, political leaders will not take risks if the people do not demand that they do. You must create the change that you want to see. Now, let's set aside the irony of Obama, the drone master, comparing himself to Martin Luther King. That's laughable. And let's set aside the disgust at him talking about, something, a Gandhi talking point, about creating the change that you want to see. And the fact that people elected him to do that, supposedly, that's the whole raison d'etre for his job and his pay and his power to make the change happen that people want. And let's take a little note from the conspiracy theory world for a moment. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. However, there are consistent conspiracy theories for decades about how the intelligence community is basically a secret government inside the government and basically pulls all the levers and makes all the monkeys jump when they want them to jump. And guess what? This supports that. That's a little scary. And you may be thinking, I'll still be thinking, so what? And then I'll have to remind you of J. Edgar Hoover, who, for a long time, in charge of the FBI, he manipulated people at the highest levels of government with his secret files. Everybody has things that we don't want to get out into the public light. Everybody wants their privacy. Everybody has things to hide. It doesn't mean that we've done something wrong. It just means we just don't want it announced to the world. Everybody's like that. And if you disagree, then I suggest that you get a webcam and a 4G connection on your cell phone and broadcast your life 24/7 for a week or a couple of weeks. And let's just see how that works out. Yeah? And I think if you're not willing to do that, then you can't claim that, if you have nothing to hide, then you have nothing to fear. Because at the highest levels, people have been blackmailed in the past, and they will be again in the future. Because government is a central point of failure. It's the concentration of enormous amounts of power in the hands of people who are no individual is ready to manage that kind of power. No one is perfect enough, and everyone can be blackmailed. So, I have to ask you folks who support Barack Obama and, other Republicans and Democrats, are you a little more worried about NSA spying now? Because it's very likely that your government is being subverted. That your democratic will, if you believe in that, is being subverted by NSA spying. They have the information. They're listening. They can blackmail anybody like they like, and they probably have already done it. Somebody's probably doing it already. But even if they aren't, it can be done at any time. Does that concern you at all? I'd like to know. You can leave a comment below or give me a phone call. I'll have the number at the end of the call. And on this topic of the NSA and whatnot, I found an interesting article from Ars Technica about how a document came out from the NSA saying that those of us who use Tor and email encryption and off-the-record encryption of our chats and whatnot actually get special attention from the NSA, that this flags our communications for possible further review, even for those of us who are inside the United States, where the NSA is not legally allowed to be paying attention to that, to be surveilling us. It says, using online encryption, online anonymity services such as Tor or sending encrypted email and instant messages are grounds for U.S.-based communications to be retained by the National Security Agency, even when they're collected inadvertently, according to a secret government document published Thursday. While the documents make clear that data collection and interception must cease immediately once it's been determined that a target is within the U.S., that's the law, those are their rules. You'd hope that they would follow even their own rules, even if they're constantly changing their rules. They still provide analysts with a fair amount of leeway, and that leeway seems to work to the disadvantage of people whose physical location is unknown, which more often than not is the case when someone uses anonymity software from the Tor project. Quote, will not be treated as a United States person unless such person can be positively identified as such, or the nature or circumstances of the person's communications give rise to a reasonable belief that such person is a United States person. This is what the secret document says. And in the event, here's the interesting part, that an intercepted communication is later deemed to be from a U.S. person, the requirement to promptly destroy the material may be suspended in a variety of circumstances. Among the exceptions are, quote, communications that are enciphered or reasonably believed to contain secret meaning, and sufficient duration may consist of any period of time during which encrypted materials is subject to or of use in cryptanalysis. Kind of ironic that, those of us who encrypt our emails, and I encrypt on a daily basis with people in the United States, are getting even more attention. And the fact that they can bend their own rules to pay even more attention to those of us who would like to keep our privacy, even those of us who are in the U.S. I'm not in the U.S., I'm outside the U.S., but those of you who are inside the U.S., it just validates what is basically an article of faith within the libertarian community, is that the government's rules are flexible. They're just public relations cover. They can change them at any time, and they will lie about what the rules are publicly and have other ones privately. We saw that with torture and Gitmo as well. So I'd really like to see you folks who are not worried about NSA spying, really like to hear what you have to say as to whether you're concerned about it now or not, concerned about the potential for the intelligence community to blackmail your political leaders into doing what they want against your will, basically subverting democracy. You Republicans and Democrats, you're either into democracy or you're into a representative republic, and this basically throws that out the window. If the outcome can be manipulated at the highest levels by blackmail, doesn't that make the whole process a joke? So here's the number. Give me a call, leave me a message with your question or comment, and I will play it on the air if I like it, if I think it's constructive. And coming right up, for those of you on the podcast, the next segment. For those of you on the video on YouTube, the next segment will be up shortly. Thanks for listening. Get protected today at shieldmutual.com.